Hello YouTubers, this is a video on a 2007 Ford Expedition EL limited edition 5.4 Triton motor. I've looked for a while to see if I could find a more detailed video. I've seen a lot of the ones that tell you that you have to remove all this stuff, but it doesn't give you a step-by-step on what you really should be looking at before you get into this. You're gonna need a 13mm socket, a 10mm socket, a 5/16, and the star for these bolts. That's going to be your general tools that you're going to be using pretty much to remove everything that's on this motor or on this actual model, so you could remove your radiator and be able to replace it with a new one. I also advise you to buy this OEM tool. Is to remove all these existing clips that they go on this, so you can have easier access to your radiator. First thing is first, you have this piece here that you will be removing. This piece goes like that. You have clips all around that you're going to remove. Everybody has a different clip. That's pretty much a universal thing. If they are push clips like these, that tool I have right there, I recommend you use it. It would be easier and you will not break any of your clips. First step is that, remove that piece there. Then your four screws, I would move that to remove your grill. Your grill has these clips here, all of these right here, that are pretty hard to take off without having to remove your bumper. I used the standard flathead and pried it into these spots. As you see, a little mark there and there. I really it doesn't really bother me that I made those little indents, because the grill will cover all of this. I remove the grill, and then after I remove the grill, I remove the headlights. Headlights are necessary to be removed for you to have a better clearance to be able to remove the other parts that are in the way to remove the radiator. I advise you to put all the screws back once you remove, just because you don't want to end up losing a screw and then missing, or forget where these screws go and then you have some extra. After you remove the grill, you remove the headlights. Headlights only have these two screws here. One of the headlights, well, both headlights will have this existing clip here. You just raise this and it will unsnap. And as you see on the sides, it has a guide and some clips here, same way as a guide here and a clip there. They would be inserted in these areas. You just gotta apply a little pressure and move it out. It's not hard, especially if you remove the grill. The lights will pretty much pop out by themselves. You could remove these harnesses instead of taking out the bulbs, so you don't have to expose the bulbs and then they get rained on like me. I got rained on today, and then they could start to malfunction, and then it'll be more money you have to waste. After you remove all the front, these two hoses here are critical. They're actually part of the radiator. They're for your transmission fluid. I removed these covers. They're on each side with this same tool right here. I removed those so I could have better clearance to move that at the same time, so I could remove this support here from the existing radiator. This will pour out fluid. Don't be scared. It happened to me, and it's normal. It's gonna have fluid inside. Just make sure you check all your fluids before you turn your motor on. After you remove these, you would have to remove your horn. It's easier to remove it. There's a bolt right here. just so you can clamp the hoses, get these clips a lot better. With the horn there, if I put it back in its place, the horn will be here, and as you see, it's blocking the hoses. So it's best to remove it so you have a better clearance to get to that. After you remove all of that, you have 4 bolts here that holds your fuse box. Remove these 4 bolts. Again, put them back to this place so when you come back to it, you know where they go. You remove these 4 and you disconnect your battery, or you could disconnect your battery and then do that. When you disconnect your battery, this cable here goes connected, and this cover has a clip on each side. You remove it. There's a 10 millimeter nut in here. You remove it, take the cable out. You have no more power going into this fuse box. You don't have to worry about anything going bad. Remove the positive and the negative. This has 3 bolts inside, 1 on each side and 1 towards the top right here. And then your support, your lock for your battery. This gets removed before you get to these bolts. Again, as you see, I put the bolts back in its place so I don't forget where it is. Your reservoir tank for your windshield wipers has 2 harnesses that goes connected here and here. As you can see, I removed them so it can be a better clearance. With the headlights out and this box in here, it's kind of hard to wedge it out. So with this clearance over here, you're able to actually remove the tank a lot easier. Remove it. I didn't want to lose the little bit of fluid we had there. We still have to refill it, but again, it's trying to be more economical, so I just saved it. That would last me probably another month or so before I have to fill it up again. So I didn't disconnect these hoses. The rest of this here, you have the air intake. This whole air intake is one whole piece. I did not remove the cover from this piece. I left it clamped together. I just took the locks off from here and released the clamp and just pulled it out. That piece goes right up here. You'll see, you remove that piece out, then you'll work yourself to the air intake itself, which is that box over there where the reservoir tank is actually connected to it. It holds by 2 bolts. You will go ahead and remove the air filter, take these 2 bolts out, and then you have this hose here. This hose here will be connected to this clip right here and the top part of your radiator that would be in this area here. Disconnect from the reservoir first so it's easier to slide out. You don't have to worry about disconnecting it from the radiator at that point. When you take it out, or before you take it out, you can go ahead and remove it. This hose here gets connected by a clip, which is one of these. This is for the bigger hose and this is for the smaller one. This clip here holds this hose to the reservoir tank. When you take off the clip, this hose is very hard to remove, so you're gonna have to apply some elbow grease so you can go ahead and remove this from the actual reservoir tank. If you haven't drained out your radiator and there's still water there, don't be surprised when you leak out, because whatever's in the reservoir tank is gonna leak from there. You remove this hose. The reservoir tank does have 2 pins that go in there that pretty much is pressured in there to remove. You're gonna go ahead and apply a little pressure and they'll pop right back out. This piece is your sensor for the The air intake, I have to replace this piece as well. As you see, it's kind of rigged up, but to save myself some time and money right now, I just took it out completely. Just be careful with it. You don't want it to be banging and then end up getting messed up. Once you remove this, you're going to remove your reservoir tank. You're going to set that aside. You're going to have your fan shroud. Before you remove your fan shroud, you have this hose down here that is held also by a bigger clip. As you see, you have two clips. This bigger one here holds that hose down there to the bottom of the radiator. You're going to remove that so you can go ahead and have access to your radiator. Well, not access, but you'll be able to remove your radiator. Once you do that, again, if you haven't drained out your radiator, you will leak out antifreeze or water, whatever you have actually in your tank at the time. You remove that and disconnect the hose from it. On top, you will have a hose connected to this piece right here on top of your motor to your radiator, which will land around here. I removed it completely just so I can have a better clearance. This clip here goes on your fan shroud right here. I would remove it with that OEM tool just so you have a better clearance to remove that shroud. Once you remove it, you're gonna have this fuse box already loose, but it's going to be held by these two clips here. These two clips are a 5/16 bolt. They will be held on the side of the radiator to hold the harness on this side and this side. You're going to want to go ahead and remove that. These pieces here are flexible. You could bend them out so you can remove the harness. You're going to take those out. Those are the only ones that you're not going to be able to put back, just because your radiator, it goes on your radiator, and since the radiator is being removed, you got no way to put that back. So you're going to set those aside, and you're going to have this harness loose on both sides, and the radiator will be kind of free already. Before you could actually remove it, like I said, you're going to have to remove the fan shroud. The fan shroud has this piece on the bottom of the motor, which actually goes down. What I did was it bends, so I kind of applied pressure to it so it could clip onto there, so it could hold in place, so it's not on the bottom of the fan. So when you bring it up, when you remove these bolts on each side, that fan shroud will be loose, and you will be able to remove it. This you're gonna have to see, you're gonna have to push it all the way on top of the fan, and this hose right here will be flexible for you to move. I would check your hoses to make sure they're not brittle, but if they were brittle, they would have broken before you do this anyway. So I would remove this to the side like this and remove the fan shroud. After you're gonna have to work at it. It's not gonna be an easy task, but once you remove the fan shroud, you're gonna have this existing space open. This clip holds this, so make sure you do this before you take off the fan shroud, because if not, you're gonna be frustrated. Once you remove this piece and the fan shroud is out, you pretty much already took out everything. You took out the hoses, you took out the reservoir tank hose that goes for the overflow. You have all that released. All you need to do is actually pry it out. You have two guides. You have one here and one on top on both sides of the radiator. You have one right here and one up there. They're held by the radiator. This is the old radiator here. They're held by these clips right here. They're locked in right there. So you're gonna push it in as you raise it. These are the connections where those two hoses I told you in the beginning are going to be. You're going to remove those. Those are going to be removed already. So this piece here is going to be free. You push this clip in as you're raising it, and it should come out. It won't be coming out that easy, but you would do one side at a time. As you see, once you move it, it's able to raise. The hoses makes it more flexible for you to be able to move it. So you will go ahead and remove that over the radiator, make your radiator free, and you would pry it out. Same, you would have to remove this. I think I left out that this power steering tank right here is actually connected on the fan shroud. It's common sense. You're gonna have to remove that before you can remove the fan shroud. All the hoses makes it flexible for you to move it around, so as long as your cap is good, you won't have to worry about it leaking anywhere. After you move your radiator out, you'll have everything existing in its plot. So once you're ready to put the radiator, it would be the same way, but in reverse, how you put it, how you took everything out. You put the radiator in. I found it easy to take it out kind of sideways. I lifted up this side as much as I could, and then this side right here I flexed the cables this way and pretty much brought it out so the radiator came out in a slant, which it was, to me, a lot easier to take out and put back in if need to. I hope this video is in much detail as you need for you can go ahead and do this work. I probably left something out. I don't think so, but if you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll answer it to the best of my knowledge. This is as much details as I saw in any other video that was posted. I'm not a licensed mechanic, but I do a lot of the work myself, just because not everybody can spend a lot of money on doing these kind of jobs.